Hi everyone, it's Gene here. Just wanted to introduce our next Mastery Empowerment class with Lauren Gailey on the NEO network. And we're going to be working with the beings I call the Galactic Portal beings. And this was a recent connection we just made at Mount Shasta on an annual retreat held in August. So it's very fresh. And I had connected with these beings sort of in a more amorphous way to plan the actual program for the retreat. And the retreat itself was based on ideas, concepts, processes for creating portals. And we were going to work with these galactic or higher interdimensional beings to download those transmissions and techniques, which we did. But we also include contact evenings during the retreat. We had four of them overall, which I'll just go over briefly. And we had a very profound contact with them. I had a very profound kind of outer and inner contact with them, which led to this actual course that we're going to be holding in the next few days, called the Galactic Portal Beings Adjusting Your Frequency Transmissions. One of the things that I noted in this retreat during the contact experiences was that we didn't have many visual sightings, just enough for the group of 12 to 13 of us that were on the retreat. And every so often, right before we would leave, or sometime during the night, there would be some type of power up, which is basically in the night sky, sort of a bright light, sort of getting very bright, and then going back to darkness. And my interpretation was that these beings were there. They were just reminding us that they were present, but not really making the visual contact the only form of contact. And in fact, there were much more profound connections that are internal, what we would call internal, but which are also sources of contact, one of them being sort of inner tones, which I'll talk about later, which kind of form the basis of how these galactic portal beings will interact with us in the transmissions that are part of this program. But on our fourth night, which was actually the last contact evening, I had a very profound experience with them, as well as the people in the group who were both there at the contact evening, as well as even some who may have stayed sort of in their bed or in their room. They also felt the contact in their own way. We did a kind of a deep, short meditation out in the field at night at Sands Flats, if anyone knows Mount Shasta, which is actually on the mountain. We had done most of our contact evenings there, so in some ways it was seeded with that kind of environmental energy. And that's also been the grounds for many contact groups, including the retreats that I've been holding there for the last 10 years or so. For example, Ricardo Gonzalez, who's connects with the Apunians, has made significant contact at Sands Flat, that same location. And in fact, some of the contact evenings that I had in 2016 coincided when he was directed by the Apunians, a type of intergalactic, galactic origin beings that he is in conscious connection to come to that site in Sands Flat in 2016. And we happened to be there and observe the same actually power-ups that he called the sort of external connection to these beings. So it's a type of, you could call it airport or launching pad, or a corridor for galactic connections, that already being there. But some of the profound things that occurred during that particular meditation in that field, that fourth night, was first, we were sort of in what I call the pillar, the group pillar, which is sort of above our head, created by all the members of the group. There were about 5 or 6 of us. And what I noted was first kind of this depth of the meditation. And then the sense that we were sort of in like I was inside rather than outside, or indoors rather than outdoors, even though we were in this, very expansive outdoor field. And what that could be attributed to, or what I attributed to, is there's this sense when you're connecting with the galactic or interdimensional beings outdoors, that a type of ship or kind of almost etheric plasma type energy, of course it's non-physical, descends onto the group. um, some ET contact groups have called it a Xendra, Xendra, and that's a kind of a interdimensional kind of sort of portal type of space that descends onto the group. So I think that was one of the effects, is that I felt while we were in the meditation that we were indoors rather than outdoors. The second was what I might have called like a deafening amount of inner tones. So this was not any physical sound, but like inner sounds. And people might have heard like ringing, that's very specific, that we've talked about with Loren and others on previous mastery empowerment courses. But these were constant inner tones occurring only during the meditation. But there were many of them, at least three, four of them. And a friend who was there, Jeremiah, also on the contact meditation, noted that these were experiences that he was having also during that exact meditation. And these are types of meditative experiences that you can have, hearing these inner tones. They actually represent or can represent the form of a being or a consciousness or an angel. In this case, I think they were a form of the galactic portal beings. And it's quite a high level of expression, or a higher dimensional aspect of them. So you can feel like vibrations or temperature sensations during a transmission or meditation or energy work. That's your etheric dimension or etheric body experiencing the connection. You might see lights or colors or images. That would be the astral dimension. And then these inner tones are a bit higher, maybe the high astral, or even higher dimensionally, the connection. So we ended the meditation, and a number of people also in the group had different experiences, but very profound experiences of beings being around the circle. So what was very interesting is we were continuing to watch the night sky at that point, and then we specifically asked that we get a power up since it was getting towards the end of our evening there. And almost immediately there were 3 to 4 power ups, almost uncannily like a direct response to us when requested, probably within a second or two. And what the power up looks like is in the night sky, like near star level. You see again this big flash, almost like a flash bulb occurring at that level. And then whatever that light source goes back down into darkness. And these were what we were seeing again the previous 3 nights. It was just the high specificity and high interaction with sort of our request. And I was saying during that time in the circle that I got the thought form, or the idea of what's called signal to noise ratio with the contact. So you might have a lot of things happening in the night sky during a contact evening, throughout the evening, but you don't really get that very specific, if I request something, then something happens. And that's actually more profound, perhaps, than having a lot of various light experiences throughout the night, because you know then that the connection is, or the signal is very high. Of course, we're never sure 100%, but you can get more into the 90% range. So the analogy I use is, let's say I'm communicating to you over a wall, and the question is whether you're on the other side of the wall. So you begin to just make a lot of noise, every so often, and I get a sense, yes, most likely you're probably over there, because I'm hearing a lot of different sounds They're not very specific to me asking for you to respond, but in general, there's you make a lot of different sounds. So I can say, okay, I think pretty sure you're on the other side. However, if I speak through the wall and say, hey, Joe, are you there? And then you say, yes, I'm here. It doesn't really matter how many times you speak. It's so specific that I know the signal is so high compared to the noise that I know pretty much that you're on the other side. And that's what I think this power up experience compared to other contact experiences where we've, seen many different various, lights in the sky or kind of things around energy, sensations around the circle is compared to what we had that fourth night. And the message was that, yes, this signal to noise ratio, I heard a very strong inner tone at that point when I had that thought in the circle that, yes, when the signal to noise is very high, the signal from these interdimensional beings is very specific, then you don't really need to keep asking or have to have too many sightings, so to speak. Just one, for example, is enough. Anyways, from there, just to kind of talk more about what we're going to be doing here in this upcoming mastery empowerment class is sort of what's next. What's next after you make a connection to these beings. And that's what this frequency adjustment to our base tone is about. That's in the write-up. And so what I found is that in more communication with the galactic portal beings, who are the beings behind these manifestations in the recent Mount Shasta retreat, is that they're really there to work at a tone level, an inner tone level, which is a very high frequency level. My understanding also from previous connections, journeying, doing shamanic journey initiations, actually into the afterlife, is that we, on a most fundamental level, are like a sound rather than, this physical body, of course, or even an energy body, or even an astral body that has a form of light and color, an even higher, more basic form of us that we will meet in a more fundamental way, but that's always present right now, is we'll meet ourselves as a tone or as a frequency sound. And so this is actually the level at which the galactic portal beings make a connection to us, also can influence or even change that base frequency tone. So if you think, through experiences, through one incarnation or various incarnation, our overall base tone changes. That's kind of a way that we reflect, learning or conscious evolution. If you could have a being or an effect that could actually directly change that base tone, accelerate its evolution, plus its harmonics, then that would be a very direct way to change our evolutionary consciousness. And that's actually what these transmissions, these three transmissions coming up, where we're invoking or connecting to the galactic portal beings and opening or allowing ourselves, our base frequencies, the overtones to the harmonics, which you might call the expression of that base frequency in various dimensions, including the physical dimension, is about. So I'll briefly mention a couple of things regarding that those transmissions, so people get a better sense of that. The first frequency adjustment is what I call the transmissions. Really is the allowing of the galactic portal beings through their frequency and tone to sort of clear out any discrepancies, kind of little nicks in the tone. Is a bit like hearing a sound that is kind of harmonious, but then there's one or two sort of frequencies in there that your ear can catch that kind of are off harmony or like off the tone. And so it's a bit like a clearing, but using tones to kind of clear any of those major discrepancies in our overall tonal frequency. The second day, we'll be receiving each of these attunements, or I would call them transmissions, are about an hour long. Then we'll also have time to discuss kind of the impact of making, conscious connection to higher beings, interdimensional beings, our galactic origins, and in particular, how this model of recently connecting to the galactic portal beings at Mount Shasta can be a model for us going forward, connecting to our own galactic origins, as well as connecting to who we are, and also connecting to galactic beings in general. So each day will be an hour of the transmission, and then also this discussion and tools to make deeper galactic connections. So coming back to the frequency adjustment number 2, the transmission number 2, this actually is the main change in our base frequency. You could think of it as an acceleration in consciousness and vibration at a very core fundamental level. And the example I gave is like if you were to think about yourself 10 or 20 years ago compared to now, we basically have an overall change in our consciousness. Only when you look over a span of time can you see, how that's quite a significant change. Maybe day to day, we don't see that change occurring, although it is maybe in a microscopic or a smaller way. Now, if you could do that same change within, a couple years, or even a couple months or weeks, or even days, that's kind of what can happen when you change your base frequency of consciousness. So that's the transmission number 2. We're opening ourselves up to whatever is most balanced or harmonious in that base change of our frequency. And then finally, the frequency adjustment 3 is what I call the harmonics. How do that base change in our frequency of consciousness, get expressed in all the different dimensions, whether that's the spiritual dimension, the karmic or causal dimension, the mental, the emotional, the etheric, and finally into the physical. So some of those things might be, for example, capacity to stay mindful in various expanded states of consciousness. For example, being able to be aware in your dreams, your deep sleep state, the alpha state, which is a more sort of dreamy, very creative state, the theta state, which is even a little bit slower brainwave levels, where even more creativity and learning, accelerated learning can occur. But can we stay mindful in those states would be kind of this skill. Also an increase in intelligence and understanding, kind of a intuitive / cognitive capacities to understand our situation. So this would be a harmonization between your left and right hemispheres, so both logical and linear thinking, as well as intuitive, holistic thinking. And this is sort of the thinking I believe the galactic beings are bringing to humanity now as we face, much more challenging problems, being able to really bring both of those skills online in one person rather than having various people hold those skills, let's say, for a group. And finally, one other expression would be the capacity to harmonize or balance one's inner world as well as one's outer world and the environment, which is maybe a very important capacity as we move to being frequency or vibrational changers in the coming months and years, where this might be very important on the planet to prevent overall strife or even outright war occurring on the planet in a very severe manner. Anyways, those will be the 3 transmissions, and I wanted to do a short experiential transmission here, letting the galactic portal being frequencies be experienced, and also a download of this for people as they're listening. So we're going to do that now. It's called the galactic portal being a transformational transmission. You can just relax, actually focus more on your inner hearing and tune into any inner tones you might hear, even if they're imagined. This is more at the level of connecting with directly with the galactic portal beings and their effect. So we're beginning the galactic portal being transmission. Again, this is really working at the inner sound level of our consciousness, of our expression into our subtle bodies. It's overall raising that frequency, bringing us to a higher level. If you like, you can focus on your upper pillar, sort of this pillar that emerges, above your head vertically, straight up. Maybe tune into the center of that pillar or two, almost trying to listen if the tone of that center line, if it had a sound, what would it sound like? Now entering a deeper cycle, connecting with the galactic portal beings, slightly adjusting our base tonal frequency. Also, there might be slight disharmonies in our tones, our harmonics. We're getting an experience now of balancing or harmonizing those vibrations. Maybe you've had the experience of being with someone who's distraught or stressed or worried. And if you heard their emotion, or you feel that emotion as a tone, you can feel kind of those discrepancies compared if they're in the flow and harmonious, balance, calm, inner peace, peaceful. Kind of overlay the difference between their base frequency in each case. You'd be able to peel off or almost hear those discrepancies. This is sort of smoothing that out for us. Finally, in this third deepening cycle, we're receiving sort of that the harmonics of an integration, expression of changing our tone, which is occurring at a very, very subtle level of our being consciousness. That this tone can densify, can manifest, so that you could think of at the physical world, our body is actually a more solidified representation of our tones. In fact, right from a quantum or beyond quantum level, all the particles are vibrating. So they are like tones or frequencies, but at a densified level compared to what we were working at before. This expression of our frequencies, what I'm calling the harmonics, may lead to certain capacities, abilities, awarenesses at the physical dimension, emotional dimension, mental, etheric or chi level dimension. We're more skillful in our expression at these levels when our base frequency is harmonized and also increased. We can hold more power without being unbalanced or unbalancing others or our environment, kind of being overpowered or underpowered. Okay, that ends the kind of short sample of your work with the galactic portal beings. You can gently come back to your physical body now. When you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers. Great. Well, I hope you can join Lauren and I and the group. We always have a great group that joins who, as a group field, we really have a tremendous amount of talent and wisdom, intelligence, joy, happiness, fun. That's really created by our group field and the group field connecting to people's guides that they bring. Also, of course, to the galactic portal beings in this case and other galactic beings. So it's really a party in a way, a celebration, maybe is the best term. And it's very much needed on the planet to bring these positive vibrations that, of course, have a direct effect on the group, probably out to their family or those connections that they make most intimately or regularly. But then as a morphic field sort of expression, it goes out into the environment, to humanity, to the planet, and of course, beyond the planet because of the interconnection that we have, particularly to other star systems. And since we're consciously connecting also to beings that are probably part of this galaxy, other galaxies, even other parallel universes, there'll be a connection. So sort of there's this tremendous interdependent ripple effect from the event and our sort of energy input or connection to it. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a great day or evening, great sleep, and look forward to staying connected.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.